Charles Louis Mortgage Advisors, 0161 959 0166.
I'm going to sort of break the format of what I normally do in the podcast here, because we've had Louisa and Paul, the other Paul, listening intently, and I'm sure fascinated by what you've been saying. I'm going to invite them now to if they want to ask you a question. Now, this can be about your playing days, Paul, or it can be about anything that you've just said. So I can see Paul's chomping at the bit here. So
you put them right on the spot here, though, haven't you, Cheesy? Because they didn't even know I was coming on.
So absolutely, they didn't. And I know that Louisa does a lot of research, so her research is in the bin now. So that's why I'm giving her a few more seconds. So go on, Paul. I'm going to unleash you. What do you want to ask of the other Paul?
It's great to see you again, Paul, and fantastic you've got over your problems that you had.
Thank you.
As a speedy winger myself, I played more rugby than I did than football. But who'd be quicker? Who'd be quicker in your day? Who was your quickest player you played with compared to probably Carl Walker now? Who'd be your speed merchant? And you were very quick, obviously, Paul, but
I think it was probably Dave White. Whitey was just absolutely rapid. Especially once he got his legs going and he got that ball out of his feet. And, I don't know. I mean, to be honest, the pair of you don't look old enough to remember when I played in the 80s, but it was a different type of game, because now, we're talking about Cole Palmer playing as a left-footed winger, but they predominantly play on the right-hand side. So it's more, even Riyad Mahrez tends to play right-hand side, but they want to sort of drop that right shoulder and step inside and do something with the left foot. In our day, it was, if you're a winger, the shout used to be, get some chalk on your boots, lad, and you had to get yourself right up against the touchline and receive it. And you had to go down the line. Obviously you could come inside, but the main aim of the game was to get down the line, get crosses in. And we had, when I made my debut, we had big David Cross, who was in the box, and Dennis Stewart and Steve Kinsey, not particularly big guys, but Crossy wanted the ball to be crossed in for him to go and compete aerially. We then went with Paul Stewart came into the club, and Stewie wanted things up in the air and this type of thing. And it's a different type of game now, isn't it? You very rarely see a City goal now where a winger goes running down the line and a headed goal scored. It's funny because last summer I did it not last summer, 2020 summer, I did a bit of a research project for the FA around crosses into the box. And I looked at all of the Premier League teams, looked at the national teams, all the 15s through to the seniors, looking at crossing areas. What was the most effective? How many players get in the box? Where they're scoring from? Is it a header? Is it a volley? Is it, everything ridiculous? My brain was pickled. And the big thing that I picked up at City was Kevin De Bruyne and Kyle Walker crossing from what we used to call a box cross, where somebody would go down the line and then they'd set it back to the 18-yard box, and first time they'd whip this crossing. And it's a little bit similar to what was in our day with the type of crossing, but a different area. If we didn't get to the byline and cross it, there was a loud voice coming from the dugout that we needed to get to the byline. You need to take your fullback on. But City have changed it now. They've changed the style that they try and attract two defenders to come with them, set it back, and you normally find De Bruyne on one side or Silva on the other side, or whoever it might be, is doing that little box cross from just outside the 18. And as the ball travels, defenders are coming out and midfielders are making runs in, and that's how City score a hell of a lot of goals. So, I've digressed there, but in my day, David White was certainly the quickest.
That familiar ball that you see now where it's played from just beyond the edge of the penalty area, inside the fullback, that short ball. Bernardo is the one who benefits a lot from that down the left-hand side.
Yeah,
I've seen other teams start to copy that as well, but it wasn't as regularly done 5 years ago, really, was it?
No, not at all. No, and it was a big thing, and City do it a lot, as I said, with Kevin De Bruyne and Bernardo and Kyle Walker. But Liverpool, with Trent Alexander-Arnold and Jordan Henderson. They were really effective at doing it. The other team who are, or at the time, were the highest crossers in the Premier League were Burnley, but theirs was a different type of cross. And when I was making a comparison, when Burnley tried to do it, listen, Burnley have got top players, but they're not at the level of Kevin De Bruyne and Bernardo Silva and Kyle Walker, and they weren't getting the effectiveness as what City and also Liverpool were getting by doing it.
Louisa, have you got a question you'd like to ask our guest, Paul Simpson?
Yeah, why not, Paul? And it is absolutely amazing to see you looking so well. So, great to see you tonight. I guess on a similar theme, really, of if you could pick one player from since we won the championship in 2012 up until today, if you could pick one player that you would wanted to have played with, since 2012, so almost 10 years, what would that player be and why?
Do you know what? It's a really strange one because they've got some top players. As a wide player, I would have wanted to play with Aguero without a doubt. But I think I'm going to take it away from players, and I would love to have worked under Pep Guardiola, because I just look at how effective he's been at making people better. And I say people because I don't just mean as players. I think he's making people better as well off the grass. And I would have loved the opportunity to have worked with somebody like him, because I'm not sure if you're aware that in my playing days, when I joined Man City in 1982, I left Carlisle. I was just turning 16 when I first started at City.
I thought you were a schoolboy, is that right? Was you still a schoolboy? Or?
Well, I'd just left school. I'd done my sort of final year at school. I think you call it year 11 now, but we were like last year, 5th year we were in, but I think it's year 11 now. And I'd finished it and came into City as an apprentice. And we didn't get coached. You weren't coached at City. You had to know the game. It was as simple as that. If you didn't know the game, and I learnt the game from playing football on the street in Carlisle and playing for my school's teams and playing for my local team. There was no academy system where you coached from under 9 through, and you came in and you'd be saying, you'd get a rollicking after a game, and like, well, I didn't know that. Well, you have to know it. You have to know the game. It was as simple as that. And if you didn't, you just got slaughtered. It was as simple as that. And I was really fortunate. I made my debut at 16, but I'll sit here now and quite openly say I knew nothing about the game at that point. And it was a case of making mistakes as you're going. And when I was making the mistakes, it'd be Paul Power saying to me, Simo, you don't do that. That's not what you do. You do it like this. And Neil McNabb and who else? The Bobby McDonald, Kevin Bond, these sort of experienced players who were saying, no, that's not what you do. And they weren't quite as polite as that. They'd tell you straight, and you learned, and you think, I ain't doing that again. Then if that's what's going to happen, I'm going to change my way. But now it's totally different. And yet, I look at the way that City are coached, and I would have loved that opportunity to have had a chance to work under somebody like him.
I can't disagree with you whatsoever, because I've got quite a few notes on some of the points you've made tonight already that I would find like to pop into the pod at some point regarding Pep's coaching and regarding the way the players are developed. But can I just get another cheeky one in and just ask you, out of your, I think, 18 goals for City, do you have a favourite goal you scored and why?
Well, I remember my first one against Cardiff, a volley from about 15 yards out, something like that. But my favourite has to be the goal on the final day of the season when we beat Charlton. And there was a big punt. I think it had snow on it when it came down, and there was a young goalkeeper, didn't know whether to come out and take it. And I nicked in and scored it. And it's one of them things that's on YouTube. And my boys, I've got 3 boys now who just hammer me about the celebration afterwards, because I still to this day have no idea what I was trying to do or what I did. And in those days, trust me, we didn't rehearse celebrations, and you can tell from my celebration that day that was not rehearsed. But that goal and that game and that atmosphere at the Old Main Road, that will stick with me for forever. That it was just a magnificent day for everybody.